What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we're reacting to the animated conspiracy to slander France. This is the third part. This is ripping apart Shrek's lore. Oh boy, this is going to be an interesting one. Okay, so let's get into the basic summary of what happened last time, because it was an interesting one, to say the least. It was mainly the fact that in the previous part, it was stated that there was a government, a secret organization that was called FEET. And the job of FEET is to get rid of animals with high intelligence because of their connection to Mort, and that's the thing. It was just a big thing to make sure Mort's plans are stopped, halted, and whatever. And then we got some creepy stuff involving Mort in general, because it mainly involved the Madagascar 3 film around the end there. Well, near the end. And about some characters having become superhuman in a way. So, yeah. There is a lot to unpack from that. But, yeah, other than that, we're pretty much good there. Now we're here to see the Shrek lore part, I guess. So, there's a few ideas. There's Fairy Godmother, Lord Barkwall. It's been a while since I said his name. I know the name, but I have not heard it in a long time. It's something like that. And potentially any other weird, wacky character from Shrek that might be a part of this whole feat thing. So, yeah. But before we get started, hit the like button if you enjoyed this reaction video. Subscribe. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when your video comes out. If there's any videos you'd like to recommend that I should react to, put it down in the comment section below, and I'll react to it as soon as possible. And the link to this video can be down in the description below, so be sure to check that out, and be sure to give the Theorizer some love and support for the video that they made that I'm reacting to. So with this all said, let's get started, shall we? Okay. Oh god, that's actually terrifying. What did they do to you, donkey? Okay, never mind. I take it back. The eyes are chilling. Seriously.
If you've seen the previous video, part 21, then you know
Those eyes
this.
are freaky.
But what if I told you that it goes even deeper than that? What if I told you that it goes so deep that I'm on the threshold of snapping because of my utter befuddlement at the fact that these patterns shouldn't logically exist, but here they are, doing it anyways. The amount of evidence I found, you are seconds away from one of the most insane videos you'll ever see.
Okay. Can we get Donkey away from the screen? Honestly, the eyes are freaking me out. Thank you, I guess.
I'm the Theorizer, and I wanted more information on the musical side of this feat cult. I wanted to dig into them some more, and you might recall that initially this organization stemmed from the Shrek films. This cult contains all of the villains and half of the side characters: Reggie, Robin Hood, Fairy Godmother, Charming Merlin. But here's where things are about to take a turn. I thought it was kind of funny and dumb when I made that original musical meme cult theory. It's a legitimate theory, but still presented quite silly. But by now, though, you should understand just how real it is. And here comes an absolute flood of additional proof that this is a thing that exists. Let me introduce you to our next massive puzzle piece, the Pied Piper. In Shrek 4,
Oh yeah.
Rumpelstiltskin hires an animal control bounty hunter who uses a flute to play music that supernaturally controls all of the animals around him by assimilating them into a dancing cult. This is almost the perfect evidence. Like, really? A bounty hunter who magically controls animals with music? This is my exact theory. This should also sound quite familiar to another self-proclaimed animal control officer, Chantal Dubois, who is a critical member of the FEET organization, as we've established. I'll call the members footmen, because that's easier and already a word, so my script won't autocorrect, of course. Also, once again, we see that hairstyle that's a little similar to Reggie in Robin Hood and Farquaad, and come to think of it, some of the villagers who were out to hunt Shrek at the beginning of the first film, which is also something new I noticed. But there is, so much more. I can feel it. I started rummaging around the other films, and then it hit me. How did I miss this before? You know how Duloc is an important stronghold for the organization because of Lord Farquaad? Remember that, right? Well, take a guess how Duloc introduces its visitors. It greets them with a song that passive-aggressively tells them to stay in line. This is beat for beat a musical cult. If you somehow didn't believe me before, do you believe me now? We have more than enough evidence, really.
Okay, I'll admit.
I'm not done.
The music stuff is bit.
I want everything. So I watched through the films yet again and paid closer attention to Shrek's big moment in the third film. He's about to go on stage, and it's interrupted when his butt gets scratched with a musical instrument by a man literally named Fiddlesworth. This is like some sort of nightmare. It's like the universe is taunting me, and here's just the thing. It keeps going. The second film's entire climax is literally the fairy godmother, esteemed member of the FEET, piquing her evil plans with a musical number. Honestly, why is this happening to me? A whole entire orchestra appears behind her as she sings into her magic wand and rolls across a piano. The musical, magical, misetheric evil is everywhere. I had to take a break from watching, so I descended into the comments section of Part 21 and immediately found a comment from user Isabella Donnell, who highlighted the fact that Shrek 3 ends in almost the exact same way, when the godmother's son, Prince Charming, plans out an entire musical play in which he will publicly execute Shrek the Intelligent Beast, the target of the organization. Charming's whole life has been musical and dramatic. He even defaulted to theater after his mother died, which makes sense given everything I've been saying. So then I decided to go in and take a closer look for myself, and I damn near fainted when I realized what was really happening. If you know anything about classical music, then you probably know of the very famous song Danse Macabre by Camille Saint-Saëns. This is what Charming sings half of his musical to. If you couldn't tell already, this is the missing link. Danse Macabre is French. Care to guess what the song's about? It notoriously means Dance of Death. It famously details the grim...
Okay. One or two coincidences. That's a thing. But that is too many coincidences. To actually just... Yeah. That is very abnormal, I'm going to admit. I mean, that many coincidences happening one after another, and it's all involving music, dance, theater, and whatnot. Yeah, something's, yeah. There's something going on, there's a big connection, and all that, because that is just too many coincidences just to ignore. I mean, even the name is French, and it literally means dance of death. What else is there? I'm sorry, I'm getting loud. I'm just why is there so many things that just keep popping up? Because what? Because you wouldn't expect this, and yet when someone actually goes into it and deep dives into everything, trying to analyze everything, it leads to this. Like, how can it lead to this? How can it be that something no one really would expect from a kids movie to be like this? It's crazy, right?
Reaper resurrecting the dead so they can dance on their own graves. They had thousands of songs to choose from for the big moment in a musical where the human kills the beast rising to power, and they chose this one. This song about Mort. If you're not acknowledging the musical cult at this point, I don't know what to tell you. Oh, wait. Yes, I do. Here's some more evidence. Shrek 3 did a lot of things and played a critical role in my original discovery of the music cult. So I kept looking, and it dawned on me that I'd been ignoring Captain Hook up until this point. What caught my eye again was that pesky hairstyle, but that's not what I'm here for today, no. I'm here to expose him for his more significant ties to the cult, because he's always playing that piano. Always, always, always. This surprised me. But what really got me was when they roll it all the way out into the wilderness just for their fight with Shrek. Why do they do this? What a waste of time and resources, unless it's truly important. And here's just the thing. The instant they roll it out, Donkey screams. Look out! They've got a piano! The absolute terror on his face. Donkey knows about the cult somehow, on some level, in some way. I mean, let's see. First of all, he's one of the main intelligent animals in the Shrek films, so much so that he was the big introduction to the concept when they were all surprised he could talk. He's also constantly doing what? Singing. Just walking around singing to himself. When Shrek asked for Farquaad's location, Donkey was one of the only characters to know the answer, let alone say it. And Farquaad, of course, is a critical footman. So now you're seeing why I included my donkey theories in the playlist. He has a number of horrific stories about his past, and I wonder if he was bred as sacrificial food or something, but more of that stuff in part 23. Tying this back around, we can reasonably assume that it would connect to Captain Hook and his piano as well. And take a wild guess who hijacks the piano mid-song during their battle? Merlin, one of the main magicians I deemed responsible for the musical cult's existence. Then, when Shrek blows up the piano with his cannon, what happens? All of the enemies freeze, panic, and then run away as fast as they can. The music, their connection to the gods, their upper hand, has been severed. The music stops, and they're gone. The music serves as a link, but more on that too in part 23. Because, are you satisfied with the music cult yet? Well, I was still hungry for more. And this scene really did get me thinking about pianos, so I hopped back over to that final scene from Shrek 2 one last time when the godmother's rolling across her piano, and I felt like something important was going on when she tells her pianist, Kyle, C minor, put it in C minor. She says it right before her performance because the film has made a point of her being musically aware. Quite interestingly, Kyle proceeds to put it in G minor, which is how she ends up singing I Need a Hero. And so I did ask on Twitter if any of you could tell me whether Hook's songs were in either C or G minor, and it seems like some of them, namely the battle scene, are, but that's more coincidental than anything. Less coincidental, though, is the fact that Danse Macabre is in G minor, and it also was a climax song, but I digress. Do with that what you will. Now, by returning to the Shrek 2 climax more than anything, I was interested in what she's actually saying in her song. They chose an interesting song for this climax, considering it was almost begging for Shrek to come dashing in, and they have a track record of phenomenally specific songs like Accidentally in Love, so I examined the lyrics and found parallels that intimately describe exactly the sorts of things I've been saying. Sky God parallels. The most important lyrics include, "Where are all the gods? Somewhere just beyond my reach there's someone reaching back for me, racing on the thunder and rising with the heat, up where the mountains meet the heavens above, out where the lightning splits the sea, I could swear there is someone somewhere watching me, through the wind and the chill and the rain and the storm and the flood." This is all too suspicious, and I'm terrified. If this still isn't enough, Well, the first two films
That
both
part,
end with
no.
musical numbers, I'm a Believer and Living La Vida Loca. There's also bonus features on the DVDs, with the first film having a whole karaoke party, and the second film having it too, in the form of a singing competition in which Simon Cowell arrives and judges the main cast. Are you
Excuse
kidding?
me?
I mean, I don't think it's literally Simon Cowell, but it's most certainly some sort of musical judge from far, far away, and it is in fact voiced by Simon Cowell, and they call him Simon. The canonicity of these aren't to be dismissed either, as they even bridge gaps between both Charming and Doris's character arcs of the second and third films. Still, it's not linchpin evidence, keep that in mind. It is support for the overwhelming rest of the evidence, and by now, it should be clear. This cult is real. Their music is real. Their goal is serious. They hate intelligent beasts. I say beast because the word choice could theoretically include all animals and fairy tale creatures or monsters. The point is organic, non-human intelligence. Robin Hood uses such words as well when he says foul beast, and so does Prince Charming and half of the Shrek cast, including people like Rumpelstiltskin, where he claims the Pied Piper's music will soothe the savage beast, which finally transitions us out of this musical madness and into the next phase of evidence. If you haven't guessed by now, the Shrek films are far more critical than you can possibly imagine, and Rumpelstiltskin is where we'll start with the next chunk of this. We established way back in my fairy godmother theories, somewhere around part 8 of all this madness, that Rumpelstiltskin's plans involved everything the fairy godmother had plotted, and that the fairy godmother's plans included everything that Lord Farquaad had plotted. Rumpelstiltskin's at the top of this hierarchy. Not all members of this organization have the same goal. Remember, there's lots of overlap in goals and tactics and communication, but I almost referred to this organization as a freelance one, because the Sky Gods manipulate and bend and twist and lie to this disorganized organization so long as their goals are met. The biggest manipulation tactic they use is, of course, the hatred of animals, which persuades many humans, but not all. In fact, their target is Mort, and they can often achieve that without the help of humans, and sometimes even with the help of animals. This is important, and with that said, Rumpelstiltskin is probably the closest to the Feet organization, giving him being at the top of the manipulation chain. They're all footmen in their own right, but Rumpel's quite interesting and worth more of a delve. When his evil plans engage, so too does the creepy lightning, which, plot twist, could very well be courtesy of the Sky Gods. And here he proceeds to hyperventilate as Shrek signs his contract, and I kid you not, his actual feet rip through his shoes and dig into the ground. I was already in a panicked state, and I hadn't realized I'd turned the audio into French when I was watching, so when he started saying sign and it sounded like sing, I nearly fell out of my chair. An important thing to note about Rumpelstiltskin is that he's more of a magical creature than a human. We established aliens and other creatures as wild cards in the eyes of the organization, and thus they can go either way. This is why I made that point about the Sky God's goals and how things aren't exactly black and white. Rumpel, though, he's quite clearly a member of Feet. First of all, he hires the Pied Piper, and he himself laughs about musical manipulation, which is something he seems interested by, to the point where he sets up a damn nightclub in his castle. There's also the big one, which is that he has, red hair. As you may notice, this is one of the smaller connections, but it's made much larger when the film makes a huge point about his hair when he gets a fiery wig, quite reminiscent of Devil Dubois. He also makes devil deal contracts that transcend universes, but honestly that's more like Mort than anyone. Yes, if we want to truly highlight Rumpelstiltskin, there needs to be a really big, really interesting plot thread involved. Luckily, I have that video where I dissected Shrek 4's triple timeline, and I think I found something new. In Shrek 4, Rumpel planned out a massive scheme in which he tricked Shrek and bent space-time to his will. This film is one of the only other times that the multiverse becomes a critical focal point, aside from All Hail King Julian. This is different, though, because what again was the result of this Shrek 4 parallel universe? Well, it was apocalyptic. Animals enslaved, ogres hunted, Rumpel in charge, everything destroyed in favor of dystopian control and order. This is, generally speaking, the sort of devastated world that would likely result from trying to get a grip on things like animal intelligence, to hold back something that advanced, just to get enough time to split Mort yet again. It's a dystopia. Mort is chaos, but this is too much order. It's a dictatorship that doesn't care about, much of anything at all. It's one of many Feet endgames, and a lot had to happen to get it to work. Rumpel's scheme alone wasn't enough. On its own, he needed Shrek's willing participation.
Or it could be this one detail, and the fact that, Grumpel is just playing both sides. He's just basically a wild card that would use any side for his own advantage. Like, that is the possibility. He could have just been working for feet, but in actuality, he was just using feet for his own goals. Probably didn't care much about what Mort can lead to and all that, and was only just looking out for what some people would say is number one, himself. That's it, really. It could have just been that, and that it, and yeah, that's it. Because from what it sounds like Feet wouldn't even allow this kind of thing to happen. So, if anything, yeah, I think they would try to destroy the fact of animal intelligence to the point that they would just become normal, intelligent animals. Well, the animals would have the uh would not have like this high intelligence thing. They would just act like normal animals. That's it. So that might be the case.
It was a miracle that it all played out, and I mean that literally. Let me explain. Shrek went back to Far, Far Away following months of boring, dull repetition in his life. It was almost the exact same day, repeated over and over and over again. This was the catalyst for the rest of Shrek 4, and it drove Shrek nearly insane. This is all a reference to the oft mundanity of family life, except it's more than that. At the very, very, very beginning of the film, Shrek is fine. He's already been doing this for ages, but it's only when the film starts that he begins losing his mind, or more specifically, after that first day. So darn it, I delved and rewatched that entire first day. I thought I couldn't find anything, and then my jaw almost dropped off of my skull. It was the Sky Gods that did this.
So, what did you wish for?
That every day could be like this one.
What in the f***? The Sky Gods literalized his wife's wish in simultaneity with Rumpel's cold open vengeance scheme and put Shrek in a vague, looping hell state so he'd cave at the slightest provocation and bootstrap the apocalypse. Ogre for a day, my ass.
How's that for a metaphysical paradox?
Alright, so we've seen some good evidence and flimsy evidence.
Okay, maybe
but
I'm wrong.
Interesting points nonetheless, and it just begs the question, how much of the Shrek films are a conspiracy? When I told you they were important, I wasn't lying. They're almost as crucial as Madagascar is. It's like, in this time period, the Sky Gods are desperate and in full effect. We already know of some smaller manipulations, like how the fairy godmother actually wanted Shrek to save Fiona, but what else could there be? I often lay awake at night, asking myself, how did Shrek have Fiona's fairy tale book all the way out in his swamp? And he did, by the way. It wasn't just for kicks in the intro, because later he references it when in the Dragon's Keep. I've even asked myself about how Charming knew the appearance of Shrek's swamp so he could involve it in his musical. Does it have something to do with that moment when Reggie and the trumpeters sort of just waddled behind Shrek's house at the beginning of the second film? One time I even questioned the largest of these possible manipulations. How did Arthur's classmates know to play All-Star? Yes, if you recall from the Reggie theory, the band plays All-Star when Shrek enters the school, but how? How do they know to do this? Conspiracies everywhere, I'm telling you. For this video, I decided there was one relevant enough to the Feet cult to warrant an entire section, and that would be on the matter of King Harold. You may remember when I absurdly claimed that Reggie assassinated the king back in, what was it, part 12? Well, I've come to the understanding that he might not have, but someone he's affiliated with most certainly did, unintentionally or not. You see, King Harold was turned from a frog into a human by the fairy godmother's magic. He turned back when she died, and it probably didn't help that he was slammed with her energy blast. His transformation and reverse transformation are, as I understand it, a magical manipulation that is not permitted. He's changing states, and one might argue, changing sides, using the magic that the fairy godmother funnels from the sky gods themselves. This is a disrespect of the highest order, and I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't the godmother's magic that killed her, but rather the sky gods snapping their tether and thus annihilating her for her failure. Harold goes differently. Without the magical connection, he slowly withers away as an impossibly old frog, unless of course they sped up the process by having someone like Prince Charming kill him with poison. There are no accidents, to quote a possible warlord. And as these other intelligent frogs literally sing, live or let die. Hashtag in before the mort. Charming, you see. He watches this funeral from a distance, and considering his plans with Rapunzel must have spanned a significant amount of time that we never got to see, it means Charming could have already been working on this prior to his declaration of vengeance, but this is all speculation. There's one massive connection King Harold has, one critical link so shocking and bizarre that I'm not sure what to make of it. It could be nothing, or it could be everything, so pay attention. Chantal Dubois, one of the most famous footmen around. The definition of an exterminator terminator. I showed Chantal Dubois so many times in part 21. Here, there, everywhere, and I somehow missed the obvious. Pineapple is literally on her hat.
What?
She never once removes this hat in the time we get to see her, and I can't believe I missed this, but the commenters certainly did, and a few people have brought it to my attention now. She bears the symbol of her leaders. Here's just the thing. I know this is flimsy, but it's not nearly as flimsy as you think it is. I want to clarify that this is not a fleur-de-lis, but if it were, it would also be evidence, and here's why. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, I hadn't realized it either until commenter Red Panda Boy pointed it out, but Prince Charming's main outfit is covered in fleur-de-lis symbology. Real fleur-de-lis symbology. You can find them frequently in DreamWorks, but mostly in the Shrek films around Far, Far Away. This is noteworthy because what is a fleur-de-lis? Well, it's a very famous symbol. That is French. There's more, so prepare yourself. This famous French symbol is largely on medieval French things, most notably the flag itself. It bears a mild resemblance to pineapple, which I guess would make sense if the sky gods are tied to France. And I already rewrote real-life Madagascarian history in part 21, but again, its resemblance to pineapple is really mild. The symbol on Dubois' hat, if not pineapple, is instead maybe a sort of parodied cross between a pineapple and a fleur-de-lis, which would only help my case yet further. So what does the fleur-de-lis represent exactly? Here's the mind screw. It represents a lily. This realization hit me funny, and then I realized why. King Harold, as a frog, claimed to have lived in a lily pond before marrying his wife, Queen Lillian. Is there any tie between him and the physical symbol, though? Yes. I scanned as hard as I could, and then I finally realized that it was right under my nose the entire time. His crown is covered in iterated fleur-de-lis symbols that are modified into a parodied pineapple shape. Again, have I lost it? Have I lost it? My point is that there's something here, somewhere here.
So.
The dilemma is that you theoretically could construe this one in many ways, but the fact of the matter is that if it is construed as valuable evidence, it would be the single best evidence yet. Both of these notions cancel out, however, and thus I see this as more or less just another pin in the corkboard. Nothing overly special because of the possibility of it literally being nothing, but I can't dismiss it either because the context of this is critical. You see, this crown is worn by the kings of Far, Far Away, as we see both Charming and Arthur wear it following Harold's death. This means it was worn by those terrifying previous royals I blabbed on about in the fairy godmother videos, and thus that whatever this intends to represent would be theirs. This could imply a number of shocking things, such as a schism in the feet, considering the fairy godmother was a part of it too, but this will, as with many things, be reserved for the logic segments of this massive theory, where I will fill the vastly numerous holes I've created for myself by finding all these connections. Alright, back to the main video. To put all of this King Harold stuff simply, the sky gods were somehow involved in his death, intentionally or not. Charming then took his rightful place but was of course killed by his own musical prop in the climax of film 3. I would like to finally note here that the sky gods have supernatural life extension in full swing during all of this. Charming stares up at the falling tower and questions, "Mummy?" before being crushed to death. It's my understanding that he literally saw her as he was seconds from death and is a footman. If you recall the very ending of part 21, I brought up the matter of Farquaad's ghost and how he too was granted life extension. It's the opposite of Mort, and it's the sky god's ace up their sleeve. I've realized since then that he truly seemed to believe that if he killed Fiona, she'd want to become his queen of the underworld. He wasn't exaggerating. This only pans out if he somehow has control over spirits, which is even more proof that something's going on, because why would his ghost be all that special? Finally, look at the way Farquaad is destroyed. Dragon blasts his soul into a dozen smaller spirits. Tell me this isn't word for word how I described Mort. That is, largely all of the Shrek evidence.
Oh, okay, so that last bit just lost me. Because I remember that one when he became a ghost. That was a whole other thing. That I think that you could only see that at Universal for a time. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so I think I mentioned already. No, I know I mentioned it. How I thought that Rumple was just like playing both sides, but it might actually be the case or not. And if it is, then it's just basically the point of the Sky Gods just being desperate enough just to win in their goal that they decided just to let this guy mess with whatever he wants and all that just to get the chance of making things at least go in their direction. They win, more to stop, and all this and all that. That is what could be the case here. Am I 100% sure? No, I'm not. I'm not going to pretend I am or anything like that, but yeah, that could be the case here. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe button, support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Notification button, be notified immediately when the video comes out. And tell me what you think about this part of the theory. In all honesty, when it comes to the Shrek films, I feel like, I don't know, it might be do or die, basically. Like, they're gambling everything to make sure they win. Like, they're at the point of no consequence, that everything is no consequence as long as Mort loses. Like, he doesn't reach his end goal or anything like that. He's just stopped, and they can capitalize on that. That is what I'm thinking when it comes to this matter. Could I be wrong? Yeah, I could be definitely wrong. Like, I could be completely and totally wrong, and I would accept that. But it does lead to that kind of questioning at this point. Like, they're desperate enough to make sure everything, to make sure that they get the high ground here. And yeah, that just might be it. I don't know. But again, hope you all enjoy. Be sure to give the theorizers some love and support for the video that they made. And other than that, see you all next time. Bye.